A bakery owner hires a young female clerk who likes wearing short skirts and thong panties. One day, a young man enters the store, glancing at the clerk and the loaves of bread behind the counter. Noticing her short skirt and the location of the raisin bread, he has a brilliant idea. "I'd like some raisin bread, please," the man says. The clerk nods and climbs up a ladder to reach the raisin bread on the top shelf.
The man standing almost directly beneath her is provided with an excellent view, just as he thought. When she descends the ladder, he decides that he had better get 2 loaves as he is having company for dinner. As the clerk retrieves the second loaf of bread, one of the other male customers notices what's going on and requests his own loaf of raisin bread.
After many trips, she is tired and irritated and begins to wonder why the unusual interest in the raisin bread. Top the ladder one more time. She looks down and glares at the men standing below. And she notices an elderly man standing in the crowd. Thinking that she can save herself a trip, she yells at the elderly man, "Raisin for you too?" "Oh," murmurs the old man, quivering a little. "I went to the barber, but the problem is a 6-year-old kid entered the shop. The barber saw him and he whispered to me, 'See that kid over there? He's the dumbest in the whole world. Watch while I prove it to you.' So the barber puts $1 in one hand, 2 quarters in the other. Then he calls the child and says, 'Which one do you want, son?' The kid thinks for a while and says, 'I'll take the 2 quarters, sir.' So the barber hands him the 2 quarters and the kid leaves."
Then the barber turned back to me and said, "What did I tell you, man? That kid never learns." I was really confused and I really wanted to know why he took the 2 quarters instead of the $1. So when I left the barber shop, I started searching for the kid. I went around the neighborhood for about 30 minutes, but I couldn't find him anywhere. I decided to keep on looking, and about 30 minutes later, I still couldn't find him.
And just when I was about to give up, I saw him coming out of an ice cream shop. I immediately ran to him and said, "Hey son, met at the barber shop earlier. May I ask you a question?" Kid nodded, and I asked him, "Why did you take the quarters instead of the $1?" While eating his ice cream, he replied, "Because once I take the $1, amens."
A beer company was hiring a taster, someone to taste the beers before selling out. But the problem is, they placed adverts, and one afternoon, a dirty, rough-looking man walked into the manager's office asking to be employed. The manager tried to figure out how he could drive this man away, but couldn't come up with an idea, so he decided to give the man a trial.
He ordered his secretary to give the man a glass of wine. He took a sip and said, "It's red wine, a muscat, 3 years old, grown on a north slope, matured in steel containers." "That's correct," the manager exclaimed. "Well, give him another one. Let's see." So he took a sip again and said, "It's red wine, Cabernet, 8 years old, Southwestern, slope oak barrels."
Incredible, the manager. Now the manager went closer to the secretary, whispered to her, saying, "Get some of your urine in a cup. See if he will get that." The man was given the cup of urine. A sip, the manager, and said, "Urine, 26 years old, 2 weeks pregnant. Not given this job, sir. I will your wife, who is responsible for the pregnancy." Guess which twin has the key? Win 10 grand. Take your blindfold off and look for the differences. The one on the right has the key. All right, go behind the curtain. They look identical. 10 grand, which one has the key? I'm gonna go with the one on the right. You guessed correctly. Don't bring out the triplet. Do you want to risk it all and double it for 20,000? Yeah, let's do it.
You really? She will now have the key? Look for the differences between them. All 3 look the same. They have now mixed up randomly. With $20,000 on the line, let's see if you can guess correctly. The far left. The one on the left? She does. I lied about them being triplets. You know where this is going. Do you want to risk it all again for $40,000? This is insane. Good. You're good. Congrats, man. Now go watch 100 identical twins battle for $250,000.
I took $25,000 from a poker player who had no idea I could understand Arabic. During my bachelor party in Vegas, my friends and I were getting absolutely crushed at poker. Frustrated, we decided to switch tables and downed ourselves, facing a loud, cocky group of guys who were clearly just betting big and bluffing like crazy. After a few rounds, it all came down to a crucial hand. One of the dudes went all in, and everyone else folded. It was just me and him, with a $10,000 pot on the line.
I was on the verge of folding when one of his friends casually asked in Arabic, "What do you have?" Without thinking, the guy blurted out, "A pair of 7s. Now, thanks to my dad, I know a bit of Arabic from growing up in the East. So, when I heard that, I realized I had him beat. With newfound confidence, I went all, and just as I expected, I won the pot, $25,000. As we got up to leave, feeling like absolute champions, I couldn't resist one last move. I tapped the guy on the shoulder, looked him dead in the eye and said, "Thanks," in Arabic.
look on his face was priceless. We laughed all the way back to our hotel, knowing we just pulled off the ultimate poker bluff.
My 90-year-old grandpa started bragging about how he took his physical, and all his results came back perfect. I liked joking around with him, so I was like, yeah, but how are you feeling spiritually and emotionally? Are you at one with God? He was like, kid, me and God are tight. He was like, he knows I have bad eyesight, so he fixed it for me. When I wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, poof, the lights turn on, and when I'm done, poof, they turn off.
He must have a real good relationship with God because I've never had that type of relationship. I got curious, and I ended up calling his wife, which is my grandma. My grandpa is old, so I don't know if he's telling the truth or not, but still when I call, I ask. I'm like, is it true that when Terry goes to use the bathroom, poof, the lights turn on? And I'm waiting for my response.
All I hear is a big silence, so I continue. After he said he's done, poof, lights turn off. It's true, she replied, disappointed. Grandpa has been waking up every single night and peeing in the fridge.
What did your psycho ex do? I caught my girlfriend of 6 years cheating on me in the basement with a guy who looked no older than 16. When I caught them, I told them to make themselves home, have fun, and went upstairs to do my daily thing. A few minutes later, I heard them mumbling things to each other in the hallway, and the guy left the house. Girlfriend has a Tantley check-it on me. I was cooking my meal, and after some minutes of silence,
she started screaming, shouting, and accusing me of not loving her, pleading with me to show some reaction. She threw things at me, shouted, and cursed. I didn't budge a bit and completely ignored her. After she consumed all of her rage, she simply left the house. Now, the thing is, it's not like I didn't love her. I firmly believe cheaters are losers. The only reason they do things behind their partner's back is they are dependent on their partner in one way or another.
That is why I believe it's best to ignore them. She became just another person for me when I caught her cheating. It was her choice, not mine. So no need to get sad. Even though it may sound cruel, I packed my important things and left the house the same night. Following year, I made sure to live my best life, my so-deserved promotion, a fat raise, and hit it off with a girl I met a few weeks after the incident. That time, not block her from any of my social media.
A wife tells her husband, honey, let's play a game. He says, okay, what's the game about? She replies, if I mention a country, you run to the left side of the room and touch the wall. And if I mention a bird, you run to the right side of the room and touch the wall. If you run in the wrong direction, you'll give me all your salary for this month, okay? Thinks for a second and agrees, okay?
And if you fail in your turn, I'll have your salary too, right? The wife smiles and quickly says, yes, darling. The husband stands up and is ready to play the game. Are you ready? She asks. Then she shouts, turkey. The husband gives her a blank stare and stays in the same spot for 3 hours, wondering what move to make. He fooled him because he can't decide whether she meant turkey, country, or the bird. The lesson is, after God, fear wife.
A teacher told her students that whoever could name her a celebrity who said a famous quote would have no school on Friday. Teacher asks, okay class, who can tell me who said, there is nothing to fear but fear itself? Sally excitedly shouts, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Teacher says, that's correct, Sally. You can have Friday off school. Sally responds, no thanks. I'm Japanese and we value our education, so I'll be here tomorrow. Teacher tells, okay then, let's give someone else a chance.
Can anyone tell me who said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country? Billy shouts out, John F. Kennedy. Teacher, that's right, Billy. Enjoy your Friday off. Billy said, no thank you. I'm a Mexican and we have a hard work ethic and I'm committed to school, so I'll be here tomorrow. Teacher says, well, I guess no one wants tomorrow off. Let's continue with the next lesson. An angry Johnny in the back of the room mumbles, fucking foreigners.
The teacher snaps around and asks, who said that? Johnny jumps up and shouts, Donald Trump, see you losers on Monday.
A guy goes to Las Vegas to gamble and loses all his money. He doesn't even have money for a cab. He said to the driver he would pay him back next time, but the driver said, get the fuck out of my cab. He walked all the way to the airport. After some times, he goes to Vegas again, and this time he wins big. He goes to the airport with all his winnings. He sees a line of cabs, and at the very end, he sees the driver from last time that kicked him out.
He thinks for a moment, how can he get his revenge? He gets in the first cab and asks, how much to the airport? The driver says, $15. How much for a BJ on the way there? The driver says, get the fuck out of my cab. He goes to the next one and asks, how much to airport? $15. How much for a BJ on the way there? He also tells him to get the fuck out of his cab. He does this all the way down the line of drivers, each one kicking him out. He finally gets to the last driver.
Hey, how much to the airport? Driver responds, $15. He hands him $15 and says, let's go. The driver leaves, all the other drivers stare out their window, while the guy in the back smiles with a thumbs up. When I was about 5, I came home from school one afternoon and found my mom giving our black lab puppy, Murph, a bath kitchen sink. I ran outside to play with him afterward, but when I came back inside, something felt off. Murphy looked smaller and even seemed a different shape than before. As a curious kid just starting to figure out how things work, I knew hot water could shrink clothes, so I assumed my mom had used water that was way too hot and accidentally shrunk my dog.
I immediately ran to tell her about her mistake, and she just laughed, taking the blame as if it was no big deal. From then on, it became a funny little story about how my mom shrunk our puppy, a quirky memory I carried with me for years. Then, about 11 years later, during a family dinner, I casually brought up the shrinking incident. My parents exchanged glances, and finally, my mom confessed the truth. That day, Murphy had actually been hit by a car.
A teacher walks into the classroom and turns to little Johnny with a question. Johnny, if I gave you 2 cats, then another 2 cats, and then another 2, how many cats would you have? Johnny confidently replies, I'd have 7 cats. The teacher, a bit puzzled, says, No, Johnny, pay attention. If I give you 2 cats, then another 2, and then another 2, how many cats does that make? Again, Johnny says, 7 cats, ma'am. Now frustrated, the teacher tries a different approach. All right, let's try this. If I gave you 2 apples, then 2 more, and then 2 more, how many apples would you have? Johnny quickly responds, I'd have 6 apples. The teacher nods, relieved. Exactly, Johnny. Now, if I gave you 2 cats, then 2 more, and then 2 more, how many cats would you have? Without hesitation, Johnny says, 7 cats. Exasperated, the teacher asks. Now frustrated, the teacher tries a different approach. All right, let's try this. If I gave you 2 apples, then 2 more, and then 2 more, how many apples? Johnny, how on earth do you keep getting 7 cats? Johnny shrugs and says, Because I already have a cat. A man dressed in a suit walked into an upscale restaurant and sat down. The waiter approached him and asked, May I bring you something, sir? The man replied, I'd like to see a lady named Sumona. The waiter looked surprised and said, Sir, Sumona is our most expensive host. Her fee is very high. Perhaps you'd prefer someone else? The man firmly replied, No, I want Sumona. Just then, Sumona appeared and said to the man, My fee is $15,000 for a visit. Without hesitation, the man took out $15,000 and handed it to her. They both went upstairs, and an hour later, he left. The next night, the man returned and once again asked for Sumona. She was surprised and reminded him, There's no discount for the second visit. The fee is still $15,000. The man simply took out the money again and handed it over. They went upstairs. On the third night, the man came back once more, paid the same fee, and went upstairs with her. Curious, Sumona finally asked him, You've been with me 3 nights in a row. Where are you from? The man smiled and replied, I'm from Kolkata. Sumona looked even more surprised and said, I actually have some family in Kolkata. The man chuckled and replied, Yes, I know. Mother passed away.
A well-dressed man entered a high-end establishment, catching the attention of the owner. How may I assist you? She asked. I'd like to see a lady named Mia, he replied. The owner hesitated. Mia is one of our priciest companions. Perhaps someone else. No, I want Mia, he insisted. Just then, Mia appeared. I charge $10,000 per visit, she informed him. Without missing a beat, the man handed over the cash, and they went upstairs. After an hour, he left. The next night, he returned, once again asking for Mia. She was surprised. No one ever came back 2 nights in a row. The price is still $10,000, she reminded him. He simply handed over the money, and they went upstairs. The third night, he came back yet again, paid her fee, and they went upstairs. Curious, Mia finally asked, No one has ever been with me 3 nights in a row. Where are you from? The Gold Coast, he replied. Eyes widened. Have family there? No, said. Father passed away recently. I'm your sister's attorney. He asked me to deliver your $30,000 inheritance.